Science fiction has been a part of American pop culture for decades. We've all seen the movies with the brain-computer interface in the form of a cyborg or an advanced extraterrestrial. Just think about some of your favorite movies and shows growing up. Star Trek, Terminator, RoboCop, Star Wars, Iron Man, iRobot, Back to the Future, Westworld, the list goes on. It is a fantasy and a vision that has long been ingrained into our society, and we have come to have certain expectations about what such a real-life cyborg would look and act like. Elon Musk revealed Neuralink. This is computer technology with electrodes placed into the brain tissue itself. If you do a quick search, you'll find a plethora of claims and information. Some say it's controversial, some say it's the wave of the future, some say it's lifetimes away. I'm here to try and clear the air about this seemingly revolutionary unveiling. The concept and the practice of putting electrodes into people's brains is old news. The idea of using a robot for brain surgery is old news. In fact, when I was in my undergraduate training at the University of Texas, I remember learning about experiments that had been ongoing in primates using this technology. These experiments happened around the year 2000. It's no longer theoretical, but rather has been used for many years, and the technology continues to evolve at a rapid rate. The surgical training, the understanding of neuroscience, and the computer technology are all continually changing at ever-increasing rates. Neither the technology nor the concepts are anything new, nor are they anything that Elon can claim credit for. But what Elon Musk has been successful in doing is creating enthusiasm amongst non-scientists and non-physicians. I liken this to his dabbling in space travel. He has the interest and the resources to make it happen, so why not? He's brilliant because he sees the value in it. He sees the benefit to society. It took almost 2 decades to popularize this concept on a world stage to get this information to the general public in a way that people paid attention. This says something about our society. Why has there been such a lack of enthusiasm for this for the past 20 years? We have known that we can implant devices into brains to send and receive information, as well as control prosthetic limbs and even plug into a computer to control a mouse just by thinking about it. Rudimentary tasks and interactions. This is as far as we have come in 20 years. As far as robots doing the surgery, in principle it's great, and I've been fortunate enough to utilize the robotic instruments currently available for both brain and spine surgery. But one thing that we must come to terms with is that robots will never replace humans as surgeons. They simply lack tactile feedback, and they lack the real-time decision-making that cannot be pre-programmed into them. Nonetheless, they are used and will continue to be used in all fields of practice, including neurosurgery, because we believe and we hope. It's the computer technology that has really changed. As the size of the electrodes and the processors decrease, it makes it more appealing to medical communities. The real rate-limiting step here is actually the understanding of the neurosciences. We can program computers all day long to do infinitesimally ongoing tasks, but until we know the brain like we know a motherboard, that day is a long way off. Yes, we have the capability to plug an electrode into the brain, and we have the capability to interpret signals that come from it, but it is the endless communication within networks in the depths of the brain that we have only begun to truly comprehend. Those signals on the surface of the brain that we're able to record are only part of the equation. There are many structures within the brain that control and integrate our thoughts, feelings, and consciousness. To truly understand neuroscience and the brain-computer interface, one must fully understand the intricacies of our brain network and understand that putting electrodes on the surface of the brain is only the beginning. We're only scratching the surface, both literally and figuratively. Think about it this way: you, the person, are the computer, or the electrodes with the microchip in this case, built to record and interpret an entity more complex than yourself. Let's just say that entity is our planet. You can plug a seismograph into the ground and record microtremors all day long. But what caused those microtremors? What do they mean for the future? How do temperature, pressure, moisture, and the axis of the planet affect it? Naturally, we can gather a lot of information from seismology, but seismology is only a tool in our armamentarium that we call science. Think of seismology as the scientific metaphor behind the electrodes that we currently put in brains. The technology is limited and narrow in scope, but instrumental nonetheless, and it will undoubtedly one day surpass our wildest dreams. Cortical electrodes, such as the ones that Elon Musk speaks of, record using microcurrents. We measure brain activity in units of energy. Specifically, with these electrodes, the type of energy we're looking at is electrical activity, otherwise known as electricity. Electricity can be measured either by stored charge or by dynamic electrical current. Coincidentally, each cell in the human brain uses electricity much the same way our electrical company uses power lines and transformers to deliver the goods into your household. One can measure both the stored charge of cells as well as the current they produce. It's measured just like electricity is measured by a local electric company, in amperage and voltage, just on a teensy-tiny scale. These currents are produced by electrical activity in and among the nerve cells in the brain. How do the cells talk? It's a combination of electricity, chemistry, and other physiologic processes. Similar to the seismograph, the electrical current is only one piece of the puzzle. What about the change in chemical composition, physiology, temperature, and fluctuations in hormones that contribute to the signal that was picked up by our superficial electrode? Each individual cell has its own individual charge and current capacity. Each cell connects to multiple other cells, which in turn to connect to multiple more cells, and this process is repeated on the order of hundreds to thousands and even millions of times to ultimately carry out one distinct task or process. It's easy to get lost in that imaginary network of power lines. How do you plug into one power grid to hear or intercept a message that has been traveling from person to person, household to household, continent to continent, all to get to the end listener? That story that the original person told on the phone surely changed somewhere along the way. Relay of information induces chances for error. Just like with DNA synthesis, the complex communication network of the brain can make mistakes too. And the more we age, the more common those mistakes. We have so many cells in our brain that we often don't notice that change until enough of the brain cells have died off to produce a noticeable effect. The brain doesn't communicate in all or none signals. It is not on or off, black or white. There is no plug-and-play spot in the brain into a bundle of wires that functions as an all-encompassing motherboard or communication port like you have on a computer. It is much more complex than that. It is not a light switch. For example, there can be one type of nerve in the brain that sends a specific chemical to every other nerve it interacts with. That chemical can cause some of those other recipient nerves to either get excited or it might cause them to turn off. They all respond differently. Multiply this by millions of times, or better yet, try to program it, and you'll quickly lose your mind trying to follow the signal. I can say with certainty, it is more complex than anything man will ever be able to recreate. We are in a new era of enlightenment. In generations past, one individual could master a variety of fields. With the amount of information in existence today, computers are absolutely essential to the continued growth of our species. There is just too much information out there for any one mind to hold. Thankfully, hard drive memory is essentially eternal, so as long as the knowledge is documented, we don't take it to our grave with us. So for now, embrace technology, embrace science, embrace humanity. Computers are the new encyclopedia, and the world is our library. The only thing I could think of that is as vast as our brains are is outer space. So kudos to you, Elon. You're taking on two of the biggest tasks in existence. Now, if only we can all get behind the cause for common good, our children and grandchildren will thank us. The effort and enthusiasm that Elon is placing in neuroscience and space travel should be matched or beaten by the wealthiest countries in the world. Because as great as he is, he can't do it alone. I'm pleased to see that the rabbit hole of neural automation is being highlighted on the big stage. I'm happy to see so much interest and enthusiasm. You don't have to be a big science nerd to be excited about this because it's truly going to be revolutionary and evolutionary. Now please, don't lose hope, don't lose track, and try to keep up. See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe below.